What you are about to hear is highly classified. In episode number 140 of Zone 4, it's novel casting. The crew returns this week to cast some of their favorite novels or novel series that have had comic adaptations made of them into films. So we cast the characters, our favorite characters from the series, into films, and we hope you enjoy what we do with it. Plus, more updates on the Zone 4 weekly webcomic strip, updating every Monday at zone4podcast.com/webcomic. If you haven't checked it out, go there now. We give more shoutouts to our faithful Zone 4 Legionnaires. Like us on Facebook.com/Zone4Podcast, and eventually you'll get a shout out on the show. Our reserve this week is Mr. Mike Luoma. You can find more information about Mike on glowinthedarkradio.com. He also does another podcast over there. He has a new title out, Sovereign, that is available on indieplanet.com. Go check that out as well. We have another round of Zone 4 Pyramid, where we split into teams, and we do our version of the classic game, Mike and myself versus Ron and Gordon. Episode number 140 is sponsored by Calendar Comics Anthology by Opportunity Knox Studio. You can find it on Indie Planet. Of course, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, YouTube, and our RSS feed. And now stay tuned for a clip from the show.
No, I'll take mine on right now.
Right.
It was funny because I thought, what a great topic when I heard about it earlier this week, and then I was like, okay, something's going to come to me as the week went on. And I've been working on all this stuff I was talking about earlier, and finally today I was like, I put some time aside because I knew if I hadn't, I needed to really commit to this and do it for real here. And I was doing the same thing as you, Ron. I looked at my bookcase and I was like, oh, okay. And it hit me. I knew what I wanted to do, and that was Robert Jordan, The Wheel of Time.
Ah, okay.
Okay.
Go big, go epic. But, you know,
Shit, man.
I'll start small because you can start small. It's a story that is cool because it starts as if it's like every other fantasy story. There's an idyllic little village, new strangers come in, and the youths go off on what appears to be a quest, you know? So that's kind of where I'm coming from as far as what I'm casting. And I don't know, have you guys read that?
I read the first one. I actually read the first one, so I know what you're talking about.
Okay.
I think I read one of the comics, but I haven't read the novels yet.
Yeah, it's actually been adapted. They started to adapt like a prequel series called New Spring. Dable Brothers was doing that.
Right.
And they kind of, dabbled with the release schedule too, so they didn't come out very regularly. But
right. Chuck
Chuck Dixon has been doing the adaptation all along. Now I guess the books have been coming out from Dynamite, but I haven't kept up with the comics. But I said, okay, well that fits the definition. I can do the Wheel of Time for my adaptation and do my casting. But then I ran into a kind of interesting dilemma. I'm going to have to cast all these actors in their like mid-20s for these roles because they've got to play a little bit younger to start and then grow up through them. Mm-hmm. And I don't know that many 20-something actors, so I was forced to spend my afternoon looking through all these different pictures of all these young actors, and I realized I haven't really seen them on movies, but I've seen them on like Craig Ferguson and on The Tonight Show. And, I've seen them talking on the couches, so I'm basing my casting on couching. If
this should be interesting.
Makes sense.
Yes.
Well, in a couple cases with some of the older actors, I knew just where I was going, and that's where I'll start, because you got the Wheel of Time opens in like an idyllic village, and there's these holy women or women who can use magic in the world, and they're called the Aes Sedai, or that's how I've pronounced it over the years anyway. And they all travel with like bodyguards called their warders. And so the first thing you see is really one of these Aes Sedai showing up in a little village who isn't used to seeing somebody like this show up. And she's described, this first Aes Sedai that you see, Moiraine, as having dark hair that falls in ringlets. And the Aes Sedai have faces that are ageless. They look both young and old. So my first thought is that's got to be, and here we go with Firefly again, Marina Baccarin.
Ooh,
cool.
Yes. Totally.
And at her side is her warder, and he's described as like a big guy, but kind of scarred, battle weary, and his people, he's like the last of his people. His people have been wiped out by the forces of evil in the north. And he's described as having like steely eyes, and you don't really get like a lot of physical description, but his name is Lan Mandragoran, and I was thinking Gerard Butler would be perfect for that. You know, so the first thing you'd see is those two coming out of like the fog into this little village. And I was kind of struck by having to cast a really tall guy for the lead character of the younger generation, and that's Randall Thor, or Randall Thor, however people pronounce it. He's the young guy who's got the destiny, and he's described as being about 6'5" and having fiery red hair. What I discovered is there's not a lot of actors out there that are redheaded and 6'5". So I started looking at just actors that are that tall, that are, you know, gangly enough that they could play a young, you know, 6'5" guy and have enough gravitas that they could grow up into something better. Or, you know, something more dark, I guess, would be the way to describe it. And I came up with Armie Hammer, the guy who played the Winklevoss twins on The Social Network.
Oh, wow. Okay.
He's also been on Reaper. I don't know if you saw Reaper, the thing Kevin Smith did. Mm-hmm. He played Morgan on that.
Okay.
But yeah, he's, you know, 6'5". He's 25. He's gangly enough that he could play the role, and I just hope that he could actually pull it off.
Right. He does have that strong jawline going for him, so
yeah, I think he could do it, you know. And the Winklevoss twins definitely got dark there, so
yeah. And if you'd like to hear the rest of the show, you can find it later today via iTunes or RSS feed on our Facebook page. Follow us on Twitter, Tumblr, YouTube, and of course, thanks for listening.